In a distant galaxy, on a strange blue and green planet, a group of alien scientists gathered in a shiny laboratory. This lab was filled with strange machines and blinking lights. The aliens, with their bright purple skin and large eyes, were excited about their newest experiment. They had been studying humans for years, and now they had a chance to learn from one directly. In the center of the lab stood a large metal chamber. Inside this chamber lay a human named John. He had been asleep for a long time, frozen in time, waiting for someone to wake him. The aliens believed that by reviving him, they could understand human strength and power. Little did they know, John was no ordinary human. Dr. Vokar, the lead scientist, was a tall alien with a long, skinny neck and a sharp gaze. He turned to his team with a wide smile. "Today we will awaken the human. We will finally understand their secrets." His voice was filled with excitement, and the other scientists nodded eagerly. They were ready to see what would happen. With a press of a button, the chamber hummed to life. Lights flickered, and a soft whirring sound filled the air. Slowly, the chamber opened, releasing a mist of cold vapor. John's eyes fluttered open. He felt strange and confused, like he was waking from a deep dream. Bright lights blinded him, and he squinted, trying to see where he was. "Welcome back, human!" Dr. Vokar exclaimed, stepping forward. "You have been in cryo-sleep for many years. We are the Zantari, and we are here to study you." John looked around, trying to process what he heard. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice hoarse. He felt weak and disoriented, unable to remember how he got here. "We are scientists," said another alien, smaller than Dr. Vokar, but just as excited. "We want to learn about your kind. We believe you have incredible abilities." As John tried to stand, he felt the cold metal straps holding him down. Panic surged through him. "Let me go!" he shouted, struggling against the restraints. The aliens exchanged worried glances. They had expected him to be confused and compliant, but they underestimated him. "Do not be afraid, human," Dr. Vokar said, raising his hands. "We just want to study you. You will not be harmed." But John was not listening. A fire ignited in his chest. Memories began to flood back. Memories of battles fought and victories won. He remembered being a soldier, trained to fight, and a sudden rush of power coursed through him. With a mighty effort, John broke the metal straps. They snapped like twigs, and he stood up, towering over the aliens. The scientists gasped in shock. "Impressive," Dr. Vokar stammered, eyes wide. "But you must calm down." Before he could finish, John took a step forward, his instincts kicking in. He had been trained for moments like this. The aliens backed away, fear written on their faces. "I'm not here to be studied," John said firmly, his voice steady. "I'm not your experiment. You woke me up, but you have no idea what I can do." Dr. Vokar quickly pressed a button on his control panel, trying to activate the lab's security. "Secure the area! We must capture him!" Alarms blared and lights flashed red. The other scientists scrambled, but John was faster. He dashed toward the nearest exit, his enhanced speed allowing him to move like a blur. The Zantari were not prepared for a human like John. As he raced through the hallways of the lab, he felt his strength returning, the energy pulsing through his veins. He was no longer a sleeping soldier, he was awake, and he would fight for his freedom. John dashed through the narrow hallways of the alien lab, his heart racing. The blaring alarms echoed around him, a loud reminder that he was not safe. He could hear the alien scientists shouting and running behind him, their voices filled with panic. "Secure the exits," one yelled. "Do not let him escape." But John was no ordinary human. As he ran, he felt the power in his muscles, the speed in his legs. Memories of his training surged back to him. He had fought many battles on Earth, and now he would fight for his freedom. He turned a corner and spotted a large door marked Laboratory 3. Without thinking, he pushed against it, and the door flew open. Inside, he saw strange equipment and glowing screens. He had no time to waste. The aliens were right behind him. As he stepped into the lab, John quickly scanned the room. He spotted a heavy metal table with strange tools scattered on it. He picked up a large wrench and held it tightly in his hand. It felt good to have something to defend himself with. Suddenly, the door burst open. Dr. Vokar and two armed alien guards rushed in, their eyes wide with shock at the sight of John standing there, ready to fight. "Get him!" Dr. Vokar shouted, pointing at John. The guards raised their weapons, which hummed with energy. John's instincts kicked in. He swung the wrench with all his strength, knocking one guard's weapon aside. The guard stumbled, and John took the chance to charge forward. He tackled the other guard, sending both of them crashing to the floor. "Stop!" Dr. Vokar yelled, but John was already on his feet. He felt adrenaline coursing through him, making him stronger and faster than ever. He turned to face Dr. Vokar, who looked frightened. "Why are you doing this?" Dr. Vokar asked, his voice shaky. "We just want to learn from you." "You want to learn? Then let me go!" John shouted, his grip on the wrench tightening. "I'm not your test subject." Dr. Vokar glanced nervously at the fallen guards and then at John. "We thought you would be different. We thought we could control you." John took a step forward, and the aliens backed away, fear in their eyes. "You have no idea who I am or what I can do," he said, his voice low and steady. "I will not be your prisoner." Realizing he had the upper hand, John made a bold decision. Instead of attacking Dr. Vokar, he threw the wrench aside and turned to the lab's control panel. He needed to find a way to escape. "Stay back," Dr. Vokar warned, raising his hands as if to calm John. "If you destroy the lab, you won't get out alive." But John didn't listen. He began pressing buttons on the control panel, hoping to find a way to open the main doors. Screens lit up with strange symbols and numbers, but he couldn't understand them. He felt time slipping away as the alarms continued to blare. In a moment of desperation, John hit a large red button. The lights in the room flickered and the alarm stopped. The main doors suddenly hissed open, revealing a wide corridor beyond. John looked back at Dr. Vokar, who stood frozen in shock. "I'm leaving now," John said, his voice firm. "If you come after me, you will regret it." With that, he sprinted down the corridor, his feet pounding against the floor. He could hear the sounds of the lab behind him, the alien scientists scrambling to regain control. But John was free, and he intended to stay that way. As he raced through the winding hallways, he felt a mixture of fear and excitement. He had escaped, but what awaited him outside? The aliens had underestimated him, but would they send more guards after him? John took a deep breath, focusing on what lay ahead. He was no longer just a human. He was a warrior awakened from sleep, ready to reclaim his freedom and fight against those who sought to control him. He ran faster, determined to find a way out of the alien facility and into the unknown world that awaited him. John raced down the corridor, his heart pounding with every step. The bright lights flickered above him, and the sound of alarms echoed through the halls. He had no idea where he was going, but he knew he had to keep moving. The aliens would not give up easily. As he turned another corner, John spotted a group of alien guards ahead, their weapons raised and ready. He skidded to a halt, his mind racing. He needed a plan, and he needed it fast. Thinking quickly, John ducked into a small side room just before the guards could see him. The room was filled with strange machines and glowing screens. He took a moment to catch his breath, trying to calm the wild beating of his heart. Peeking out from behind the door, John watched as the guards passed by, shouting orders at each other. "Find him! He can't have gone far," one guard yelled, his voice filled with frustration. John clenched his fists. He couldn't let them catch him. After a few moments, the guards disappeared down the corridor. John knew he had to act. He stepped out of the room, keeping his ears open for any sounds. The hall was empty now, and he took a deep breath. It was time to make his move. John moved quickly but quietly, making his way through the maze of hallways. He noticed strange symbols on the walls and bright screens flashing with alien text. He had no idea what they meant, but he didn't have time to figure it out. He just needed to find a way out. Suddenly, he came across a large window that overlooked a massive hangar. His eyes widened as he saw a fleet of alien ships parked inside. They looked sleek and dangerous, but he had to find a way to get to one of them. As he stared, he heard voices approaching. John quickly ducked behind a large crate in the hangar. He held his breath, hoping the guards wouldn't see him. Two aliens walked by, discussing their plans to capture him. "He can't be far. We need to secure the ships before he gets to one of them said. John's heart raced. If they secured the ships, he would be trapped. He had to act fast. Once the guards moved away, he made his way towards the nearest ship. It was small, with a sleek design and a cockpit that looked like it could fit him perfectly. He reached the ship and quickly climbed inside, taking a moment to explore the controls. They were unlike anything he had ever seen, filled with buttons and screens that blinked with alien symbols. But John was determined. He could figure it out. As he fumbled with the controls, he heard footsteps approaching. Panic surged through him. He pressed random buttons, hoping something would work. Suddenly, the ship powered on with a low hum. Lights flickered on, and a screen in front of him lit up with a view of the hangar. "Yes, this could work," John whispered to himself, feeling a surge of hope. Just as he started to press more buttons, the door to the hangar burst open. Several guards rushed in, their eyes scanning the room. John knew he had to hurry. With a swift motion, he pressed a large green button on the control panel. The ship's engines roared to life, and John felt a jolt as it lifted off the ground. The guards shouted and scrambled to react, but it was too late. The ship shot out of the hangar, soaring into the open sky. John felt a rush of excitement and fear as he flew away from the alien lab. He glanced back and saw the facility growing smaller. The aliens were shouting below, but he was free, at least for now. As he flew into the unknown, John realized that this was just the beginning. He had escaped, but he needed to figure out where to go next. He glanced at the control panel, trying to make sense of the alien navigation system. He had to get back to Earth and warn his people about the aliens. They would need to prepare for the danger that was coming. John took a deep breath, focusing on the road ahead. He was no longer just a human. He was a warrior, and he would fight for his home. With determination in his heart, John set the ship on a course for Earth, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He knew the aliens would come after him, but he would be ready. He had awakened, and now he would not be stopped. As the alien ship soared through space, John felt a mix of excitement and fear. He had escaped the clutches of the alien scientists, but he knew the real challenge was just beginning. The vastness of space stretched out before him, and he had no idea where to go. John sat in the pilot's seat, gripping the controls tightly. The navigation screen showed a series of unfamiliar stars and planets. He had to find a way to get back to Earth, but first, he needed to understand the ship's systems. He glanced at the control panel, studying the glowing buttons and strange symbols. "Come on, just let me figure this out," he muttered. He pressed a few buttons, and the screen displayed information about the ship's systems. Suddenly, a holographic map appeared, showing a path to a nearby planet. Maybe I should check this out first, he thought. The planet was marked with a bright blue symbol, indicating it was a place of significance. John took a deep breath and adjusted the ship's course. As the ship approached the planet, John's heart raced. He had never seen anything like it. The planet was covered in lush green forests and sparkling blue oceans. It looked peaceful, but he knew appearances could be deceiving. Once the ship landed, John stepped out, feeling the soft grass beneath his feet. He looked around, taking in the beauty of the planet. But he had to stay focused. He needed answers. As he explored, John noticed strange structures in the distance. They looked like ancient ruins, overgrown with vines and moss. Curiosity pulled him closer. He approached the ruins, sensing a hidden history. Inside, the air was cool and filled with a sense of mystery. John walked cautiously, his footsteps echoing in the silence. Suddenly, he stumbled upon a large chamber filled with glowing crystals. The crystals pulsed with light, illuminating the room in a soft glow. "Wow," John whispered, amazed by the sight. As he stepped closer, the crystals began to vibrate, and he felt a strange energy wash over him. It was unlike anything he had ever experienced. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber. "Welcome, human." John jumped, looking around in shock. "Who's there?" he called out, his heart racing. "I am Zorak, the guardian of this planet," the voice replied, "coming from the crystals. You have awakened from your slumber, and your presence here is important." John felt a mix of fear and curiosity. "Why am I here? What do you want from me?" he asked, trying to understand what was happening. Zorak's voice was calm and soothing. "You are part of something much greater than yourself. The aliens who awakened you seek to control your power, but they do not understand it. You are not just a human, you are a chosen warrior." John's mind raced. "A chosen warrior? For what?" "To protect your world and others from the threats that lurk in the shadows of the universe," Zorak explained. "You have abilities that can tip the balance in the fight against darkness. But first, you must understand your true potential." John's heart swelled with determination. "How can I do that?" "The crystals will guide you," Zorak said. "They hold the knowledge of your ancestors, the strength of warriors before you. Touch them and you will learn." Without hesitation, John stepped forward and placed his hand on one of the glowing crystals. As he did, a surge of energy flowed through him. Images flashed before his eyes, memories of battles fought, heroes rising, and victories won. He felt strength and power building within him. Embrace it, John. You are more than what you think. You are a protector, Zorak encouraged. With every pulse of the crystal, John felt his understanding deepen. He realized the true nature of his abilities. He could harness strength, speed, and skills beyond his imagination. As the vision faded, John opened his eyes, breathing heavily. I understand now, he said, a new sense of purpose igniting within him. I will fight for my people. You are ready, Zorak said. But be aware, the aliens will come for you. Prepare for the battle ahead. John nodded, his resolve solidified. He had a mission now. He would not only fight for his freedom, but also for the safety of his home and his people. With newfound strength and knowledge, he was ready to face whatever challenges awaited him. As he left the ruins, John looked up at the stars, knowing he was not alone. He had awakened to a greater purpose, and he would not back down. The journey was just beginning, and he was ready to fight. With his newfound abilities and purpose, John felt a surge of confidence as he stood on the alien planet. The glowing crystals had given him strength, knowledge, and a deep connection to his ancestors. He knew the time had come to prepare for the battle against the alien forces that had awakened him. As he made his way back to the ship, John's mind raced with plans. He needed to devise a strategy to confront the aliens. He also needed to gather allies, but first, he had to learn more about the technology of the ship he had stolen. Inside the ship, John sat at the control panel studying the complex systems. He knew he had to understand how to use the ship's weapons and defenses effectively. He remembered the holographic map from earlier. Let's see where I can find help, he said to himself. He navigated through the galaxy, looking for any signs of human presence. After a few minutes, he found a small colony on a nearby planet. This could be it, he thought, hope blossoming in his chest. John set the ship on autopilot and prepared to land. The colony looked small but lively, with buildings made of strange materials and humans moving about. As he touched down, he felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Would they accept him? As he stepped out of the ship, John noticed the people staring at him. They looked curious but wary. He approached them slowly, raising his hands in peace. I come in peace. I need your help, he shouted, his voice echoing in the quiet of the colony. A group of people stepped forward, led by a tall woman with fierce green eyes. Who are you? She asked, her tone protective. What do you want? I am John, a human from Earth. I was awakened by aliens, and they want to use my powers to conquer worlds. I need your help to fight back, he explained, hoping they would understand the urgency of his message. The woman studied him for a moment, then nodded. I believe you. We've been hearing stories about strange ships and alien attacks. We need a leader, and it seems you might be the one. John felt a wave of relief wash over him. Thank you. Together we can fight them off, he said, his heart swelling with determination. Over the next few days, John trained with the colony's residents. He shared what he had learned from the crystals, teaching them about strength, strategy, and unity. They practiced drills, honed their skills, and prepared for the inevitable confrontation with the alien forces. As the day of battle approached, John felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He stood at the front of the group, looking at the determined faces of his new allies. We are humans, and we are powerful. Together, we can show the aliens that we will not back down, he shouted, his voice booming with passion. The group cheered, their spirits lifted by John's words. They knew they were fighting not just for their lives, but for the future of humanity. Finally, the day arrived. The sky darkened as a massive alien ship appeared overhead, blocking out the sun. John looked up, feeling a mixture of fear and excitement. It's time, he whispered, adrenaline coursing through him. The alien ship descended slowly, landing on the outskirts of the colony. John could see the aliens disembarking, their faces filled with arrogance and confidence. They believed they could crush the humans without effort. But they were wrong. Ready? John called to his allies, who stood firm at his side. They nodded, gripping their weapons tightly. John took a deep breath and stepped forward, facing the aliens. You picked the wrong planet to invade. We will fight for our home. The aliens laughed, thinking it a joke. But John and his allies charged forward, using everything they had learned. The battle was fierce, with laser beams lighting up the sky and the sounds of clash echoing everywhere. John felt the power of the crystals within him. He fought with skill and determination, leading his allies against the alien forces. They fought bravely, their spirits unyielding. As the battle raged on, John realized that humanity's strength was not just in their physical abilities, but in their unity. They fought together, protecting one another and pushing back against the alien invaders. With each alien they defeated, John felt more powerful. The tide of battle began to turn in their favor. The aliens, once confident, started to panic as the humans showed them the true meaning of resistance. Finally, John faced the leader of the alien forces, a towering figure with a cruel smile. "You think you can defeat us?" the alien sneered. "Yes, we can. We are humanity!" John shouted, charging forward with all his strength. The final confrontation was intense, but John's determination and the support of his allies pushed him to victory. As the dust settled and the alien ship fled, John looked at his people, who were cheering and celebrating. They had won not just a battle, but a fight for their freedom. In that moment, John knew that humanity was strong and would never be defeated. They had awakened a warrior in him, and together they would protect their home from any threat that dared to come. With hope in his heart, John smiled at his allies. They were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, united in strength and purpose.